If you spend much time in thrift stores, antique shops, or the weird parts of the internet, you might see items like grape scissors. They do exactly what their name implies. They cut small servings of grapes from larger bunches. That may sound absurdly specific, but items like this spoon were even more specialized. Try to guess what its function was, and keep in mind that all of this silliness started with the fork.
A dirty, filthy, smelly piece of cutlery.
Humans have been using bowls, cups, and knives since the Stone Age, and despite what Google will tell you, spoons have been around for just as long. Forks are a different story. We've had them since at least the 4th century, but they didn't spread throughout Europe until a millennium later. In fact, as late as the 1600s, Britain saw forks as pretentious or even offensive.
And obscene and disgusting, and I hate it, I hate it, I hate it.
Charles I declared them to be decent to use in 1633, but it still took a century for forks to become household items. There's a convoluted story that I'm glossing over here, but basically, commoners started emulating nobles, and as dining became more of a ceremony, people started expecting physical compliments to their meals. I'm not talking about applause either. Compliment with an E is kind of like supplement, whereas compliment with an I works like praise. Each word can be either a noun or a verb. But while a plate might complement a meal, only an individual can complement the presentation.
Be quiet!
Anyway, as tableware became more popular, new implements were introduced. That trend had been going on for a while, but it really took off in the 19th century. Since utensils were meant to last lifetimes, fashions were defined by functions. For example, after Britain stopped being afraid of tomatoes, they wanted a specialized server. Silversmiths were happy to oblige, and the cycle sustained itself. It was the Victorian version of keeping up with the Joneses, except that it was more along the lines of making the Joneses look like unrefined brutes. Now, hygiene did play a role, and silver does have antimicrobial properties, but nobody really cared about that. Back then, most people still thought that diseases were caused by things like miasma. The point was that each new item added another flourish to the dining experience. Sure, you could touch your nuts with your hands, or you could use a nut spoon to fill your nut dish from the nut bowl, then politely poke at your nuts.
Phrasing!
That politeness was the real crux of the whole thing, but there was a profound sort of irony beneath the surface. People focused on the manners in the ceremony, but they were elements of an edible dance. Put bluntly, it was fun to show off during a shared meal. So even though they were symbols of elegance, things like tomato spoons and grape scissors were really just shiny toys that you could use while playing with your food. Every gathering was a game, and the winner was complimented on how they complemented the meal.